Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with a top of 2020 list, and I normally wait to do these until the very end of the year because I'm filming this on the 21st, so we still have a whole 10 days until the end of the year, but I'm doing historical romances for this video. I'm kind of doing kind of subgenres, so I might do my favorite young adult books of 2020, my favorite romance of 2020, and then historical romances. And I figured I only have 2 historical romances left on my TBR for the end of the year, both of which have the possibility of making this list, but it's fine. Oh wait, no, I have 2 more too. So 2 other Bridgerton books to add to this, the last 7 and 8, the last 2 of the series, and then I'm also currently reading Devil in Winter by Lisa Kleypas, which honestly might make this list too, and Indigo by Beverly Jenkins. So those 4 I have to read over the next 10 days, but I feel like I have a solid 15 that are my absolute favorites of the year. And I, this year, read so many historical romances. If you guys watch my channel, you know 2020 is the year of historical romance. I became addicted. My shelf went from a little corner over here to literally, I just rearranged it, so I have a giant bookcase full of one of my big bookcases is now just completely historicals. It has exploded, probably more than doubled my amount of historical romances I own because I love the genre so much. And so I love that you guys are loving historicals too. Bring on the love for a good historical romance. There's just so much about the genre that I love, and I have a whole list of my favorites that I've read this year. I've read a lot. I didn't go and count how many I've read, but I have a top 15, and they're all a variety of authors, a variety of old and new, so I'll go ahead and get to it. The first one was quite a surprise because I didn't even know I would love this. I had no expectations going in. I didn't even know this book existed by this author, and that's 9 Rules to Break When Romancing a Rake by Sarah MacLean. I just found this edition yesterday. I had to buy it because this is easily one of my favorite historical romances of all time. I read this for the Ravished by Romance book club I run with Lacey. She said, I wanted to read a historical, and she said, what about this one? And I was like, sure, I like Sarah MacLean enough. Sarah MacLean is easily now one of my favorite historical romance authors. Her Bare Knuckle Bastard series is okay. I didn't love that series, and then I read this and another one by her that's on this list, and hands down she's a new favorite author of mine for the year. And this one, she's a spinster, and I feel like I love spinster romances. I don't know why, I just do. And her younger sister's actually engaged to a guy she's in love with, and so our main character looks at her and sees like, well, why does that happen to her and not me? And it's really sad. But she decides she's tired of living this just docile life, so she decides to make a list of things she wants to do, and then this rake ends up helping her complete this list. So it's like shoot a pistol, see a duel, gamble, drink, have a passionate kiss. So it's amazing. I absolutely loved it. I read book 2, didn't love it as much, and I really want to read book 3 though because 3 is their sister story and I'm really excited. Book 2 is his twin brother story, but these are amazing. Then of course we had to have Kerrigan Byrne on this list, and All Scott and Bothered is one of my favorites. This one actually has a plus size heroine. It doesn't really show it on the cover. This is book 2 in the series. I love this more than book 1, and I'm dying for book 3. I already have an e-arc and I have to hold off on reading 2021 books, but this one, she has a very dark past. So all of them have a really dark prologue, kind of like the Bridgerton series. All of those have very dark prologues. In this one, she is like pretty much kept in a basement, starved by this man who thinks she's like the devil. He's a pastor, I think, and she ends up being saved, and like they keep on saying she's too heavy, she eats too much, and so now she inherits a gaming hell from someone, and the love interest is the guy trying to bring down the gaming hell. He thinks it's a front for kidnapping little girls, and because little girls keep on going missing, it's not. And she like disguises herself when she has to talk to him as the owner of the gaming hell, and then she's also talking to him as herself, and he's kind of falling for her as herself, and then he detests her when she's like this disguised person, and it's so good. And she is just an amazing main character, and I loved it so much. He's a Lord Chief Justice of the High Court, so he's trying to like figure out what's happening to these girls and shutting down gaming hells and like things that are breaking the law. So it's really good. I loved it. There's like a lot of like suspense in here as well, which I enjoyed, so I could not recommend the series enough, but I loved this book. I did listen to a lot of these on audiobook, so like the Sarah MacLean I listened to audiobook, this one I did. This one is Duke of Midnight by Elizabeth Hoyt. This one I also have the gorgeous step back version, and this is in the Maiden Lane series. I read it a long time ago when I first started blogging. I think in my very first YouTube video, don't go watch it. It was when I had my blog and I was making videos for my blog, and I hauled a couple of her books in this series. You don't have to read them in order, but I actually read the Sisters book in here before this one, and I loved that one so much. But this one, our main character, she is like a not assistant, she is a companion to her cousin, and a companion, people made fun of me last time I said this, they just like companion. They're there to sit with them and be a companion to them and just entertain them, I guess. And so her cousin's supposed to marry this duke, and our main character has a brother who's in prison for something she says he didn't do, and he's like going insane there. So she blackmails this duke because she knows this duke is actually the ghost of St. Giles, which is this vigilante person that goes around and like helps people at night. She knows it's him. She like figured it out. So she tells him, if you help my brother, I won't tell everybody your secret. And so he ends up having to help her, and they fall in love, but it's forbidden because he's supposed to be marrying her cousin, and it's really good. I couldn't recommend it enough. I love a good blackmail storyline. And again, all of these are like women who are not high class, and I love that. Well, I guess in the first one she is, but like women who are either spinsters or wallflowers or people who are not supposed to be with like people of high class. I love it. Oh, so the next one I think I do own, but I'm already down here, so I'm not gonna go get it. It's on my Lisa Kleypas shelf. If you didn't know, that shelf up there is entirely Lisa Kleypas books, and it is Someone to Watch Over Me, which is her amnesia romance. It's my first amnesia book, and I'm obsessed now. I want all the amnesia romances. I love that trope, and he is one of the Bow Street runners, so they're like kind of like police, and they just help keep London in check, and he ends up helping find this woman who was found in the Thames. She was like knocked unconscious. It was on purpose. Someone tried to kill her, and she has amnesia, and she's actually a lady of the night, so she is a sex worker, and she wakes up and she doesn't feel like she's a sex worker. She's like, there's no way I would be in that line of work, and because she's very not shy, but doesn't feel like she would be in that line of work, if that makes sense. She just like has this feeling. She doesn't know who she is, but she's like, I'm not that person. And so she's freaking out about figuring out who she is. She's kind of falling for him, and he's like, well, I know you because like I hired you at one point. So lots of secrets involved, and they had to figure out who's trying to kill her, and he's like helping her. And it was so good. I really loved it. It was surprising. I listened to it on audio because I was just listening to some Lisa Kleypas, and such a surprise. I had no idea what it was about, and I ended up really enjoying it because I read two other ones that I didn't really love by Lisa Kleypas, but this one, a new favorite. Okay, another one I do own. I forgot that I have a couple that are not mass markets, but it's An Extraordinary Union by Alyssa Cole. This one, so good. I'd only read Alyssa Cole's contemporary romances, and this one is her historical during the Civil War, and our main character was a slave, and she escaped to the North, and so she's free, and she ends up being a spy and going back to the South as a spy, and she has to pose as a slave. And this other man is also a spy, and he is there pretending to court the daughter of the family she works for. And so they end up falling in love because they're working together but have to like act like they don't know each other, and it's so good. I absolutely loved it. I cannot wait for book 2. I just need to go ahead and buy the other two because I'm dying to read them. This one was also a Ravished by Romance pick for our book club. We just picked such good historicals to read together, but I loved it, and it's really hard though because she's being treated despicably, and it's awful, and he has to pretend to feel like that way about her because he's trying to win over this family to get secrets from them. So it's really good. It's a spy romance. I enjoyed it a lot. You guys know this book was going to be on this list because I won't shut up about it, and that is Her Night with the Duke by Dana Quincy. This one, I really also love widow romances because in this time period, widows have so much more freedom because they aren't restricted by the fact that they're single. They can go out and do things. They can be in like alone in rooms with men because they're not going to be ruined because they've already been married before. And so she is a widow. She travels around a lot. She writes books, and she ends up going to this inn, and there's only one room, and all the men are being really gross about it, and this duke is like, we'll share a room, it's fine, she's with me. And they do. They have a steamy night together, and then she arrives at her estate, which is really owned by her stepson, and her stepdaughter's there, and they are pretty much her age, and she's really close friends with her stepdaughter because they're like best friends. They're like 2 years apart, and the duke she had slept with actually is going to propose to her and is intended to be married to her stepdaughter. So he had not like actually been engaged yet. It was like intended to, but he's off limits to her, and it's so good. They try to deny it. She definitely pushes him away, saying, no, you're like perfect for my stepdaughter. It's what's supposed to happen. Well, and I'm dying for book 2. I love Diana Quincy. The next one I also do own. I think I have it in here. I did pull it out. Okay, so it is This God of Mine by Tessa Dare. I had to buy anyone that I listened to on audio and have it physically because I adored it so much. This one, I think you guys know, this is one of her most popular ones. She is tired of going to balls and trying to court people, so she makes up a fiance. She's like, oh, you know what, I'm actually engaged to this like guy who's Scottish, who's like off at war right now, but we're engaged. And so she actually like writes letters to him and sends them to the fake name she made, and it's actually a real guy. He's not the ranking that she had made up in the military, but they still went to him, so he's been reading her letters for years. She fakes a death and then like goes into mourning so that she can like finally have her career. I'm pretty sure in this one she likes bugs. Yeah, I think she like draws a lot of like specimen and she wants to do that. I've read a lot in this series and Tessa's other series all at once, so it's kind of overlapping, but I'm pretty sure she wants to like draw things for like an encyclopedia or something, and he ends up showing up and he's like, hey, we're getting married, like what's up, fiance? And she's like, what? And so he basically been like reading her diary this whole time because it was her diary, like her writing letters to him, and it's so good. And he brings home like his friends, I guess people that were in the military with him, like to give them land because she lives in this giant castle, and that's why she got the castles, because like they were supposed to get married, and it's really good. I couldn't recommend it enough. I definitely recommend the series because the other one in the series is on my list. I don't know when though. It's next. Okay. The next one I have is actually the first book in the series. That's Romancing the Duke. And these are all part of the Castles Ever After series, which are about just like women getting castles. And so she is the daughter of a dead man. Well, he died. So he was a famous author of a children's book, and it was based off of her, and he didn't leave her any money, so she's like destitute, and she ends up inheriting this castle. So she goes there and a duke's already living there. He's blind, he's angry, and the castle is just in ruins. It's disgusting. And there's like bats everywhere, and there's like not even clean beds to sleep in. And she's so determined to keep the castle, and he's like, no, this is mine. And like someone must have sold it off because he's just been like this brooding blind duke for like a year, and we learn why. And it's really good. They fall in love while they're fixing the castle up. We have cosplay people from her dad's book, and it's amazing. I loved it. Read this series. Then we have Sea of Ruin by Pam Godwin. This is the one that's not mass market. This is actually independently published. I need to read more indie historical romances because I bet there's a whole world of those out there, and I barely even scratched the surface with it. This is pirates. This is just amazing. It's very, very dark, so be aware of that. There are some consent things going on. Our main character is a pirate captain, and she pretty much inherited it from her dad. We get like her younger, and then we fast forward to when she is older, and she's actually been married for years but hasn't had a falling out with her husband, hasn't seen him. He completely betrayed her, and then he's back, and she really plays mind games with him. She won't forgive him for what he did, and then she is kidnapped by a commodore, and he is like a pirate hunter, so he's kidnapping her to kill her. And there's a romance between her and the commodore, and her between her husband, and it's so good. Very dark though, like there's lots of sexual assault, lots of just assaults in general. She gets beat up a couple times, but it's really good. I really liked it. Then I have to talk about my number one. It's going to be my top romances of 2020, and that is The Madness of Lord Ian Mackenzie. We have a widow in this one, and she meets Ian, who is on the autism spectrum, but during this time period they really didn't know anything about that, and so he was sent to an insane asylum at first. He saw something he shouldn't have. People don't really understand him. His family is so loving though. I devour this entire series. Really the whole series is in my top ones. I didn't include the other ones on this list. The first 4 are amazing, so really it's this with those 4, but I didn't include them in this list because I'm already talking about this book. Ian meets Beth, he decides he wants her, and they start a relationship. First it's physical, and then it grows from there. Beth just learns to communicate with him, to show him what love is, and it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Book 2 is a second chance with a married couple. Book 3 is not, it's something else, and book 4 is also second chance. Yeah. They're good. The next one I have is This God of Mine by Sophie Jordan. I don't own this one. I need to, but this one, our main character, she wants to get out of an arranged marriage, so she fakes being pregnant and is either sent off or runs off and meets this Scottish guy. He learns that she's pregnant, though she's not, and his family's cursed, so every man dies before their firstborn child is born. So he's like, okay, easy, I'm not gonna have a kid. And so he's like, oh, this is perfect. I'll marry her, we'll have a kid, I'll raise it as my own, it's fine. But she's not actually pregnant. So it's very dramatic, but it's very, very good, and I really love this one. Then we have Destiny's Surrender by Beverly Jenkins. This one is my absolute favorite in the series. The whole series is actually really good. This is book 2, but this one's my favorite. We have our main character, Billy, I think? Yeah, Billy. I never remember character names, and I remember her name. She is a sex worker, so Andrew's one of her clients, but they catch feelings and she gets pregnant. So it is an unexpected pregnancy trope, which I absolutely hate, but this book was amazing. I love Andrew's family. His mother is amazing. And that's all I can tell you about this book. I don't want to spoil anything else, but I loved it. And you should read it. I thought I was included this book, but I guess I already have 15 without it. Day of the Duchess by Sarah McLean is amazing second chance romance, but that's all I can say because this isn't on this list technically. I thought it was, but it's not because I already have 15. The next one though is The Secret by Julie Garwood. This one I read with pretty much my little friend group from ApollyCon, Sarah, Michelle, and Lacey. I don't know if Sarah read this. I think she did with us, but we all go to ApollyCon together and we decided to just have like an impromptu buddy read, and it was of this, and our main character is English and she has a best friend who is Scottish. They met when they were little, but like the English hate the Scottish, and so her best friend, her mother and her grandmother both died in childbirth, so she's terrified of having a child, so she promises her that she will be with her when she gives birth. So she's hanging out in England and this Scottish laird and a bunch of Scottish men come to get her, and they're like, hey, your best friend's pregnant, you gotta come with us. So she immediately goes. She's like, oh, of course, yes. And her and the laird of the clan butt heads and they fall for each other, and it's so good. The banter with his friends too is amazing. I loved her friendship with her friend. She also kind of acts as a midwife while she's there because it's a while. She doesn't know when her friend's gonna give birth, so they gotta wait around a while. And while she's there, she helps out other people. So it's really good. I really loved it. Can't wait to read more Julie Garwood. Then the last two are also classics. So the next one is Kingdom of Dreams by Judith McNaught. This one, oh, I thought I grabbed I do have the one with the step back, but I grabbed this edition. It's fine. This one is about a girl who is Scottish, and she lives in a convent with her sister, who's like the pretty one, and her father gets into some conflict, I guess, with these other guys who are English, I think, and they end up kidnapping her and her sister, and she literally tries to kill her kidnapper multiple times. The ending did go on a little too long. I remember there being this whole like festival thing at the end, and I'm like, what is the point of this? But the hate to love romance was so good. He like keeps her kidnapped and tries to blackmail her dad, I'm pretty sure, but it's just great. I loved it. I need to read more Judith McNaught too. And then the last one, again, I forgot it, but it's all the way up there, so I'm gonna leave it. It is Hearts Aflame by Joanna Lindsey. This is a Viking romance. It's my first and only, no, I've read 2 Joanna Lindsey. I read another one and hated it, but this one was my first one by her and I loved it. It is a Viking romance. She is from a family of Vikings. She isn't interested in like any men in her town, so she sneaks off on the ship with her brothers who are supposed to going on a supply run. They're actually going on a raid and like lied to her parents about it, so she's snuck in with them, gets kidnapped with them because they completely fail their raid. Like they just get demolished by the guys they're trying to raid, and she is like posed as a boy, and everybody knows that it's her, that are in her like family clan, and so they try to protect her, and then it's finally figured out, oh, it's actually a woman. So the main leader of the people that they tried to raid takes her, and they have a romance, and I really loved this one. So definitely Joanna Lindsey to check out. I have to read more by her, I know, but that was my favorite of her this year. And those are my 15, kind of 15 and a half if you include Day of the Duchess, favorite historical romances of 2020. Let me know down below what your favorite historical romances you read this year, what I need to read. I know I have a lot more that I've read that were great books, but they did not make it to the top 15, but that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.